Alright, adding rational numbers and subtracting rational numbers. First off, when you're adding, you got some things you need to keep in your mind. When you have the same sign, you're supposed to add and keep the sign. Alright, when you have different signs, you're supposed to subtract and use the sign of larger number. Alright? Now with subtracting, your first step, first thing you do, we talked about this in class. Add the opposite. Alright, and then once I've done that, once I've done this add the opposite thing, it's no longer a subtracting problem. It then turns into an adding problem, and that's where these rules start applying again. Okay, so we're going to do two examples, one with adding and one with subtracting. Alright, we're going to go with 2 1/3 plus negative, let's go with 4/5. Alright? Well, same sign or different sign? Different signs, right? So what's that mean I'm supposed to do? What's different signs mean? Subtract. So, 2 1/3 minus 4/5. Make sure we got this thing lined up a little bit better. Remember, because what we talk about in class, stack your fractions. Stack them. And when we're stacking our fractions, we need a column that's dedicated to whole numbers, just whole numbers, and we need a column that's dedicated to numbers that are just fractions. Now, what's the problem with that right there? Common denominator, right? Okay, so the trick that we've been using in class, not really a trick, but the technique that we've been using in class is taking this fraction and multiplying it with the other denominator. So times 5 times 5, giving me 2 5/15. Alright? This one I'm going to multiply by 3 times 3 times 3. Alright? Giving me 12/15. Still got a section for a column just for my whole numbers and a column just for my fractions. Okay? Now, common denominators. What's the problem here? Erase that. Let's have a little bit of room here. 2 1/3 minus negative, excuse me, not minus, plus 4/5. What's the problem here? We got a common denominator, don't we? Our problem is this. 12 can't be subtracted from 5. If I got 5, I can't take 12 away from that, right? Okay, so I'm going to have to do something a little bit different here. Now, I want to preface what I'm fixing to do by saying this is different than anything you've seen before. Okay? Well, I won't say anything you've seen before, but it is different than what you've done in the past. In the past, you did something called renaming. I'm not going to go over that because I don't really want it to confuse you. I want to show you something a little bit different, kind of like what we've been doing in class, trying to make things a little bit easier on you. So take the 2, mark it out, and put a 1. All we're going to do is borrow here. We've borrowed from the 2, turned it into a 1. Alright? Now we're going to mark the 5 out. Now here's the kicker. You know when you borrow in decimals? Alright, when you borrow in decimals, you take the front one, mark it out, it goes down by 1, right? But then the one that you're borrowing for, you mark it out and it goes up, it increases by 10. Now here's the difference between borrowing on decimals and borrowing on fractions. When you borrow on a fraction, that still goes down by a value of 1. Alright? But this one is going to increase by the same value as the denominator. See, I took the 5 that was already there, and I'm going to add 15 to it, giving me 20. So instead of there being a 5 there, it's going to be a 20. 20 is bigger than 12. Now I can subtract it because it's large enough. So 20 minus 12 is 8, right? over 15. What's 1 minus nothing? 1. 8 over 15. Now can I leave 8 over 15 as 8 over 15? Does that simplify? Is there a number that goes into 8 and 15? Well, 8 only divides by 2, 4, 1, and 8. Does 15 divide by 1? Yeah, but that don't simplify anything. 2, no. 4, no. 8, no. So there's my answer. 1 and 8/15. Now remember how we've been doing this in class. We've been keeping it separate, okay? Taking the number part of my answer and solving it. That's what I just did. I found the number part of my answer. Now we're going to talk about the sign part of my answer. Now is this positive or negative? Well, to figure that out, we've got to look at whether or not which one's larger, because different signs tells us to subtract and use the sign of the larger number. So what's larger, the positive 2 1/3 or the negative 4/5? It's the positive 1/3. So 1 and 8/15 stays 1 and 8/15. Okay, now let's talk about subtraction here. All right, with subtraction, our first step is going to be add the opposite. All right, we're going to do something. Let's just go with 2 4/5 minus negative 7/8. All right, first off, we got to start with add the opposite. Yeah? Okay, so this one stays. The minus sign changes to a plus symbol, and the negative 7/8 changes into a positive 7/8. Now, what do we just turn that into? Changed into a plus sign, right? That means it's an addition problem. So if it's an addition problem, these rules apply. Same sign or different sign? Same sign. Means I'm supposed to add the numbers and keep their sign. So what we have to do here is add 2 4/5 and 7/8. So 2 4/5 plus 7/8. Notice again, I'm stacking my fractions and I'm leaving a column for just the whole numbers and a column for just the fractions. Still got to have a common denominator here, so multiply by 8 because it's the other denominator. Multiply by 5 because it's the other denominator. I end up with 2 and 32 over 40. I end up with 35 over 40. Still adding here. Alright, let's change this. Where my iPad is sitting. A little bit better right there. Okay. Better? There we go. Alright, now 32 plus 35. Because once it's common, I keep it common. 32 plus 35, that is 67. 2 plus nothing, that's 2. What's wrong with this? What's wrong with this? I want you to fix that and bring the answer to that to class. I want you to fix this right here and bring the answer to the question to class.